year round, and it about killed me. By the end of May, I'm ready to quit.
Yeah.
And then to work till 5 o'clock. I mean, sometimes I would at school.
You should follow me around.
Yeah.
I work 16-hour day.
Oh goodness. Oh.
Okay, so we're on live. So we have to watch what we say now. We have to behave. Yeah. So, okay.
I'm gonna have another horn. Oh, goodness.
Yeah, when we've been talking about the fact that for those of who might watch this, either watch it now or later, that we are probably going to finish the book of Daniel, and then we are going to, even arrogantly, it took regular burnt offerings away from him and overthrew the place of his sanctuary. And this, mine says, refers to from the Seleucids sprang Antiochus Epiphanes, who in 167 BC conquered Palestine, violated the sanctuary, and prohibited worship there. So that's seen as this person, this one leader.
Which one was it? Seleucus the Babylon?
This one, mine says Antiochus
Syria, Asia
Epiphanes. It doesn't say exactly.
See, mine names the four horns.
Okay, and what does it call them?
The four principal successors of Alexander the Great were Ptolemy I of Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
Seleucus of Babylonia,
Mm-hmm.
Gonius, Antigonus,
Okay.
whatever, of Syria and Asia Minor, and the Antipater of Macedonia and Greece.
Okay, see, and mine actually names the four and says that they're Cassander, Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy. And so this Antiochus Epiphanes is of the Seleucids. So he would be from one that was, which is Babylon, right? That's what yours says. So I don't.
Seleucus of Babylon.
Right,
yeah.
Right. So then, does yours say who the horn, this one that comes in and does all this bad stuff? Does it say who it is that does that? Who does yours say it is?
It just said one of these. Doesn't name him.
It doesn't name him. Okay.
Growing slowly at first, soon became very strong and attacked south and east and warred against the land of Israel.
Okay. So mine, it's in the footnote that it says this. So this is not in the scripture itself. It's just, this is how it's interpreted. I guess it's, but I do think, as I understand it, that is historically correct, that there did arise one of the parts of the Greek kingdoms that is the Seleucids, and that this guy did come in and conquer Palestine and do these bad things in terms of banning the worship in the temple and all of that kind of stuff. So now, does he reach up and pull down some of the host of heaven and some of the stars and all that? Probably not. That's probably a little bit of an overstatement of his power.
Probably in some form of throwing them out of the temple, and
right, it could have been there.
Be pulling down
the stars from heaven. Right. That's probably much more symbolic. Symbolic. Right. Because of wickedness, the host was given over to it together with the regular burnt offering, or the footnote that says the meaning of the Hebrew is uncertain on the burnt offering. It cast truth to the ground and kept prospering in what it did. So and I assume it's when it says it's talking about, it's this horn. So it's this person and his forces come in, and because of the wickedness, the host, and remember, the host is the heavenly host, right? Or the host of heaven. And mine does not exactly say what the host of heaven is.
Just mine says and defeated some of their leaders.
Okay, so maybe
The
it's
footnote says host of heaven or the starry host.
okay.
Which doesn't say.
Okay, I forgot me to put my phone on vibrate. Okay. All right. So probably the leaders of the temple or the leaders of the faith were cast down and all of this. But the idea it cast truth to the ground. The leadership was given over to them along with the burnt offerings, so that that person comes in and just takes complete control of everything. But it cast truth to the ground and kept prospering in what it did. So, which is kind of interesting, the idea that these people would come in and wreak havoc on Israel and on the temple and stuff, and even so bad as it threw truth to the ground, which the truth of God, maybe the truth could even be the Torah, could have been taken and desecrated and all that. And yet it keeps prospering. It's one of those that you kind of go, why is it prospering? Why is God letting this happen?
See, mine says, but the army of heaven was restrained from destroying him for his transgression.
Okay, so God pulls back.
Let him go ahead and do all this.
Okay, right. And now, so where is that? Where is it in yours that it says that?
Well,
In 12? Okay.
where
The
you
host was
said
given,
it-
where it says the host was given over to it to get, it's so that it was allowed to do this. Right. And that's for the people of Israel, that's a big part of it, is that God at different times chooses to let bad things happen to them. I mean, pulls back protection, and the whole book of Judges is we study. Is an ongoing. They do bad, and it gets they get handed over to other people, and the God uses them. And so and so this is. But remember now, this is Daniel is saying all of this in the reign of Cyrus the Great, which is before Israel has even been, the people have been allowed to return to Israel. That at this point, probably it has not. That has not happened, and definitely the Persians are still the mighty empire. So the Greeks have not even come about yet, and so he's prophesying things that are going to happen later, right? They're going to happen later. Okay. Then I heard a holy one speaking.
Angel.
Okay, or it could be an angel. Okay.
Mine says two of the holy angels.
Okay, and then mine says, I heard the Holy One speaking, and another Holy One said to the one that spoke. That's a bad setup line for a joke, to tell there was a Holy One, and then another Holy One was speaking to the first Holy One. I mean, that doesn't tell it very well. Okay, so there's two angels, and one of the angels said, "For how long is this vision concerning the regular burnt offering, the transgressions that makes desolate, and the giving over of the sanctuary and the hosts to be trampled?" How long is all of this bad stuff to happen, right? And let me see, K or gate. No, K, Hijk, meaning of Hebrew uncertain. Okay. So how long, and he answered him. So he being the other host, right? Or other angel, answered him, "For 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary shall be restored to its rightful state." Okay, so 2,300 evenings and mornings, which is about 3.5 years. Okay, and if you remember in the book of Revelation, there is a 7-year period, and so there's 3.5 of the years where the temple is violated, and then another 3.5 where it's returned or something. So that's one of the places that you get some of this, how some of this carries over into the book of Revelation. The idea of 3.5 years is one of those things, right? Let's see. I'm just going to read my footnote. Says the angel's comments comment and calculate that this will continue about 3.5 years. The sanctuary was restored on the 25th of whatever, basically December 14th, 164 BC, only 3 years after it was desecrated. So it actually didn't last as long as it was said that it would last. There we go. Okay. So those that we got a little conversation between the angels talking about how long is this going to go on, and all this. He tells all the stuff going on, and the other one says it'll be about 3.5 years before it comes back. It's restored to its rightful place. So that little scenario ends in verse 15. When I, Daniel, had seen the vision, and I'm assuming we're talking about this whole vision at this point, not just the two angels. This is the whole vision, right? When I'd seen the vision, I tried to understand it. Then someone appeared standing before me, having the appearance of a man. And I heard a human voice by the Ulai.
U-L-A-I?
Mine says calling from across the river.
Okay, calling from across the river. Now it says it is. I heard a human voice, but down below it says, i.e., a celestial being speaking human language. So that's not necessarily a human. I think that's what the footnote is trying to tell us, is that because it was, he sees someone standing having the appearance of a man. Instead, he doesn't say, I saw a man standing in front of me, right? That would mean it was a man. Saying someone having the appearance of a man gives us a hint that that's not what it really is. It's someone appearing as a man. And then he speaks and he has human voice. And this is what he calls: Gabriel, help this man understand the vision. So the man standing across may have been Gabriel, right? And the human voice that comes may not have been from that man. It may have been a voice from heaven speaking human to that thing, that the person that appears like a man, saying, "Hey, Gabriel, go help the man understand what's going on." And so, that may have been like a divine edict kind of thing. And so the person that appears to be a man may be the angel Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel. So he came near where I stood, he being Gabriel. And when he came, I became frightened and fell prostrate. You got to be careful with that word, because they don't have the same meaning. But he said to me, "Understand, O mortal, that the vision is for the time of the end." Okay, so the vision is for the time of the end. And mine says compare that to a bunch of other things, which don't want to do right now. So that makes you wonder if the end there is the end of the captivity of the people in Babylon, is the end of but there is no temple because the temple was destroyed, so that can't be it. So are we talking about the end of time?
That's what mine says.
Okay, and so that's kind of, I think that's where they're going, is that we're talking end time. We're not just talking about, this is not a normal kind of vision. It's talking about a time when all of time is going to end. As he was speaking to me, I fell into a trance, face to the ground. Then he touched me and set me on my feet. He said, "Listen, and I will tell you what will take place later in the period of wrath, for it refers to the appointed time of the end." So this angel Gabriel has kind of picked him up and dusted him off. He was in a trance on the ground, picks him up and says, "Look, I'm going to tell you about this period of wrath, which will be at the end time, right? As for the ram that you saw," oh, okay, so now we know he's going to go back and interpret all of these things as how they relate to the end time. It's not it's not he's telling him something brand new. It's that he's interpreting it for him, right?
That's what the heading of mine says, the heading of this section, the interpretation of the vision.
Okay, interpretation of the vision. Okay.
Mhm.
As for the ram that you saw, remember the ram was really just a little bit. The ram was just
Wiped out by the
verse 3 through 4. It was 2 verses is all the ram was, right? It was little bitty. And I would assume mine says the 2-horned ram is the Medo-Persian Empire. So that's the Persians, that's Cyrus, that's the people that that basically that Daniel works for, right? For the ram that you saw with the 2 horns, these are the kings of Media and Persia. The male goat is the king of Greece, and the great horn between its eyes is the first king, and that would be Alexander. That's Alexander. Actually, Alexander's father, Philip, is somewhat successful, but really it's when Alexander takes over that the Greeks just really go nuts. I mean, he is a very, very effective leader, and so he's not necessarily the first. I mean, Philip of Macedon would be the first real king, but when you get to Alexander, he's the one that really is the big one. So he's probably seen it. He may be seen as the first.
I think we went to the grave of Philip. Okay, I'm sure we did. Yeah,
Okay.
it was like in a mound.
Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, almost.
It was like
a lot
a
of
big mound.
yeah, a lot of ancient cultures buried people in. I mean, that Spiral Mound is. I mean, that's a Native American burial site. Is what most mounds, or they were worship sites, and then they would also be burial sites. So that'd be fairly normal.
That just sticks in my mind.
Okay. As for the horn that was broken, in place of which 4 others arose, 4 kingdoms will arise from his nation, but not with his power. And that's true. That I mean, Alexander the Great was fabulous, but he died pretty young. And when he dies, it is broken up into 4 sub kingdoms with 4 different people, as we've already read, that were in charge. Now, at verse 23, my text changes from prose, which just narrative, and it suddenly it's written as if it's poetry. At verse 23, and I'm not sure exactly why it does it. I'm looking to see. Double talk to Ruth. The people, the holy ones, are the godly Jews. Okay, it doesn't tell me why it's written this way, but it is. At the end of their rule, when the transgressions have reached their full measure, a king of bold countenance shall arise. So now this is actually new, right? That the
One of the ones we read that we talked about a minute ago.
Oh, he's the bad guy. Okay, so this is about the bad guy. You're right. I'm sorry. A king of bold countenance will arise, skilled in intrigue. He shall grow strong in power, shall cause fearful destruction, and shall succeed in what he does. He shall destroy the powerful and the people of the holy ones. And mine does have a thing that says holy ones are the Jews. Okay. So he destroys the powerful and the people of the holy ones. So he goes after the Jews. By his cunning, he shall make deceit prosper under his hand. In his own mind, he shall be great. I like that. In his own mind, he shall be great. Not necessarily he will be great, but he just still think he is, right? Without warning, he shall destroy many and even rise up against the prince of princes. The prince of princes, mine says, is God. And so by attacking the sanctuary, right, or the temple, that would be him rising up against God, the prince of princes. But he shall be broken, and not by human hands. The vision of the evenings and the mornings that has been told is true. As for you, seal up the vision, for it refers to many days from now. So you need to not don't put this out there, because this isn't for now. This is going to happen in the future. So kind of seal it up. Don't. It's not talking about something that's going to happen soon. So I, Daniel, was overcome and lay sick for some days. Then I arose and went about the king's business, but I was dismayed by the vision and did not understand it. So it affects him physically. He gets sick for many days. He's not able to work. He took sick leave, but then finally he kind of gets over it. He goes about and he goes about his business. He goes about serving the king, because that's what he does, right? But he was dismayed, and he still doesn't exactly understand. I mean, even though the guy told him, he doesn't exactly understand it yet. Okay. All right. And so that is the end of the vision of the ram and the goats. Now we're going to move on to another prophecy that we're going to have here, which is the prophecy of the 70 weeks. Right? In the first year of Darius, son of
Xerxes.
Xerxes. Okay, that's not mine. How mine has it, but that may be that name. I know is a lot easier to pronounce too. Oh yeah, down here it says it almost looks like a dinosaur name. It's AHA and then Saurus.
Yep.
Ahasuerus. That sounds like a dinosaur, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. But it says it means Xerxes. So I'm just gonna make it Xerxes. In the first year of Darius, son of Xerxes, by birth a Mede, who became king over the realm of the Chaldeans. In the first year of his reign, so we're still talking Darius. This is before Cyrus. Okay, this is Darius. In the first year of his reign, I, Daniel, perceived in the books the number of years that, according to the word of the Lord to the prophet Jeremiah, must be fulfilled for the devastation of Jerusalem, namely 70 years. So Daniel is, even though Daniel works for the king of first it was for the king of the Babylonians, now it's for the king of the Medo-Persians. Specifically, in this case, they're saying Medes, but maybe Persian, historically maybe Persians. But even though he's doing that, he has the scripture of the Hebrews, because he is studying the words of the prophet Jeremiah. So not only does he have the Torah, but he has the books of the prophets as well. So he's got a library of Hebrew works that he's studying, and he's looking at the number of years that it will take before the devastation of Jerusalem can be fulfilled. So how long is Jerusalem going to be laid to waste, right? Then I turned to the Lord God to seek an answer by prayer and supplication while fasting and sackcloth and ashes. So he's wanting help from God. The way he does it is he prays, he puts on sackcloth, he puts ashes on himself, he fasts, and he prays to God for this divine guidance. I prayed to the Lord my God and made confession, saying, so he starts with confession. Ah, Lord, great and awesome God, keeping covenant and steadfast love with those who love you and keep your commandments. We have sinned and done wrong, acted wickedly and rebelled, turning aside from your commandments and ordinances. We have not listened to your servants of the prophets who spoke in your name, to our kings, our princes, and our ancestors, and to all the people of the land. So he's confessing not himself, right? He is confessing for all of Israel. He is confessing for all the things that had happened that brought about the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple, right? And the carrying them off into captivity in Babylon. He's confessing all of this, all the sinning and the wickedness and not following the commandments and ordinances and not listening to the prophets and all of that stuff. He's confessed all that.
You know what this sounds like?
What's that?
When we before you came, when we did communion, we read some things out of the the hymnal, and
there would be
some
a
of it-
confession. There would be
and you do
confession.
that confession.
Yeah.
We have sinned against you by thought, word, and deed. We
Right.
have rebelled against your word.
And I don't
That reminds me of.
I don't always do I don't do confessions very often. It's just one of those things that to me, and I'm not saying we shouldn't confess. I just I like doing. I like not. There's different ways you can do the liturgy, and I just prefer the way that we don't do a lot of confessions. But every now and then, I think it's a good thing to remind us that we do still sin. I mean, yeah, that we, even though we are forgiven, we know we're forgiven. That doesn't mean that we don't sin. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't confess. It just means that it's already taken care of. We don't have to do that. But yeah, you're right. That isn't.
That sounds like to me.
Right. Righteousness is on your side. You were right, Lord. Oh Lord, but open shame, as at this day, falls on us, the people of Judah, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and all Israel. So that reminds us that when they are carried off, they aren't all carried off at one time. That first, I think it's the land of Judah was captured because it's split into two areas. It's split into Judah and Israel. And first, I think it's Judah, and I could have that wrong. But first Judah is carried off, and then Israel. And so it's done in two different segments. And that includes all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Those who are near and those who are far away in all lands to which you have driven them. They've been dispersed. That yes, a lot of them went to Babylon, but that's part of what the Babylonians did, was that they would take the people out of their land and move them. Some of them they moved to Babylon, but others they sent to other parts of the kingdom to populate those parts, because so that way you kind of mix everybody up and you keep them from rebelling, because you leave the people in their own land and let them do what they want to do. And what you get is what happens with the Romans, is you get the people of Israel rise up, and there's continual problems all along. And then finally they rise up, and the Romans have enough of it, and they come in and just lay waste to it. And then they scatter them all over the place. I mean, that's the dysphoria that doesn't end until 1948, something like that. Okay, so where was I? Okay. Open shame, O Lord, falls on us, our kings. Okay, yeah. Okay. All Israel, those who are near and those who are far away, in all lands to which you have driven them, because of the treachery that they have committed against you. Again, notice he's confessing third party. He's confessing for all the things they did to you. Open shame, O Lord, falls on us. So in that point, though, shame falls on us. That includes him, our kings, our officials, and our ancestors, because we have sinned against you. To the Lord our God belong mercy and forgiveness, for we have rebelled against him and have not obeyed the voice of the Lord our God by following his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. And in that case, Moses is considered a prophet. So when you start talking about all the laws that would come from Moses, he would be included in that as a prophet. Okay. So it's not just talking what we think of as prophets. Okay, verse 11. All Israel has transgressed your law and turned aside, refusing to obey your voice. So the curse and the oath written in the law of Moses, the servant of God, have been poured out upon us because we have sinned against you. He has confirmed his words, which he spoke against us and against our rulers, by bringing upon us a calamity so great that what has been done against Jerusalem has never before been done under the whole heaven. So that this is the first time in which Jerusalem has been captured, the temple destroyed, and the people hauled off. This is a new occurrence. This is the first time God has allowed that to happen.
What year was this about?
This would have been when they went into captivity originally in I don't remember exactly. And I would have to go back and look it up. And it doesn't give us a date anywhere. So,
It's before 70 AD though, right?
oh yeah. Well, this is like hundreds BC. I mean, like 500 BC. I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Let me look and see real quick if we got the. If maybe it tells me in here when this would be. Third year took place in fourth year. Was the Babylonian method of reckoning. First year's guard following hence the last. Come on, give me a date. Give me a date. Don't give me the fourth year of this person's reign. That doesn't help me any.
The date at the beginning of Daniel in mine says about 605 to 530 BC.
Okay, right. Okay, so
So
that's
yeah. That's
so
long
we're talking
time.
yes,
Yeah,
long time. Yes.
Oh,
Okay. Yeah. So we're talking long time. Yeah, not anywhere close to the time of Jesus. Right. Okay. Where was I at?
12.
It never has been done under the whole heavens. Just as it is written in the law of Moses, all this calamity has come upon us. We did not entreat the favor of the Lord our God, turning from our iniquities and reflecting on his fidelity. So the Lord kept watch over this calamity until he brought it upon us. So even though the Lord doesn't literally cause this, he watches and allows it to happen, right? Indeed, the Lord our God is right in all that he has done, for we have disobeyed his voice. So we got what we deserved. We did all this bad stuff, and the Lord has brought it all against us, just like he said he would, right? And that will really come to play. There are a lot of people that will talk about Cyrus, who will be Darius's successor, Darius's successor, who will allow Ezra and Nehemiah to come back and allow them to rebuild the temple and rebuild the walls and all that kind of stuff, as that Cyrus was a servant of God, even though he's Persian. It doesn't, whether he's Persian or Babylonian or Jew, it doesn't. If God can use them as servants, God's going to use them as servants. It doesn't. God can use anybody God wants to. Okay, so 15. And now, O Lord, so this is Daniel praying to God, asking for guidance. And now, O Lord our God, who brought your people out of the land of Egypt with a mighty hand and made your name renowned even to this day, we have sinned, we have done wickedly. O Lord, in view of all your righteous acts, let your anger and wrath, we pray, turn away from your city, Jerusalem, your holy mountain, Mount Zion, right? Because of our sins and the iniquity of our ancestors. Jerusalem and your people have become a disgrace among all our neighbors. Now, therefore, O God, listen to the prayer of your servant and to his supplication. And for your sake, O Lord, let your face shine upon your desolated sanctuary. Incline your ear, O my God, and hear. Open your eyes and look at our desolation in the city that bears your name. We do not present our supplications before you on the ground of our righteousness, but on the ground of your great mercies. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive. O Lord, listen and act and do not delay. For your own sake, O my God, because your city and your people bear your name. That last part's a little iffy to me. Oh God, for your own good, you need to do this stuff. Right? And I'm kind of like, no, I don't know that that's something. But this is a really formal. I mean, this is like a prayer to God. Notice that starts way back in verse 4, and it's this is a pretty complicated prayer. I mean, he's praying, and realize that this is maybe Daniel going back and writing it. He maybe didn't pray it quite like this. As he went back and he wrote it, he filled in the places where he needed to fill it in, right? Made it sound good. Made it sound good. But I do like, oh Lord, for your own sake, oh my God, because your city and your people bear your name. Do this stuff. Listen and act and do not delay, because, oh God, it's for your, because it's your city and your people who bear your name. Okay, so verse 20. While I was speaking and was praying and confessing my sin, I like that, my sin. No, I don't know that he really confessed his sin, because he would have been a very young boy at the point where this would have all happened, because he's a very young, like, teenage man when he gets brought into the royal household. So he couldn't have been responsible for any of this. But okay. But he's confessing my sin and the sin of my people Israel, and presenting my supplication before the Lord my God on behalf of the holy mountain of my God. So while I was speaking in prayer, the man Gabriel, who I had seen before in a vision, came to me in swift flight at the time of the evening sacrifice. And so he's praying this prayer, and this angel Gabriel comes flying in the window. I don't know exactly how that works, but it's at the time of the evening sacrifice. Now, I don't know whether the evening sacrifice would be a sacrifice that would have been, if that time would have been a time as recognized as the sacrifice that they would normally make at the temple, or if this was sacrifice that the whatever gods that they're worshiping in Babylon are worship. I don't know which one that is. It doesn't really matter. It's evening time, right? So he came and said to me. So this Gabriel flies in and says to him, Daniel, I have now come out to give you wisdom and understanding. So that's why I'm here. Wisdom and understanding. At the beginning of your supplications, a word went out. There was a 911 call, right? Word went out, and I have come to declare it, for you are greatly beloved. So consider the word and understand the vision. Okay, now in this case, I don't know what vision he's talking, because he hasn't really seen a vision. I guess maybe he's still talking. Maybe it's still referring to this other vision before. I don't know, but the main thing is he's going to have understanding, right? Understanding. So consider the word and understand the vision. Oh, maybe this is going to be a new vision. That's right. This is a vision of the 70 weeks. So maybe this is going to be a new vision. 70 weeks are decreed for your people and your holy city, to finish the transgression, to put an end to sin, and to atone for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. So 70 weeks. And in Jeremiah's, okay, oh, that's the vision. I'm sorry. That's the vision he's supposed to understand. Because remember, that's what he was studying Jeremiah. I forgot about that, right? So that he's going to understand, right? But in Jeremiah, 70 weeks is not 70 weeks, right? 70 weeks is Jeremiah 70 years.
Mine says 77 of years.
Right.
That's what mine says,
Right.
too.
So it winds up being 490 years, right? Okay. So he's helping him interpret that 70 weeks is not 70 weeks, right? And it takes that long. It takes the 490 years to finish the transgression, put an end to sin, which we know doesn't happen. You don't put an end to sin like that. To atone for iniquity, to bring everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and to anoint a most holy place. Mine says thing or one. Know therefore and understand from the time that the word went out to restore and rebuild Jerusalem until the time of an anointed prince, there shall be 7 weeks. And for 62 weeks, it shall be built again with streets and moat, but in a troubled time. After the 62 weeks, an anointed one shall be cut off and shall have nothing, and the troops of the prince who is to come shall destroy the city and sanctuary. Its end shall come with a flood, and to the end there shall be war. Desolations are decreed. He shall make a strong covenant with many for 1 week, and for half of the week he shall make sacrifice and offering cease, and in their place shall be an abomination that desolates until the decreed end is poured out upon the desolator. Okay, so now, this is the anointed 25, and understand for time, an anointed prince, okay, is, mine says that the footnote in my Bible says that the anointed prince is either Zerubbabel or Joshua, and the one cut off is Onias the third. The prince who is to come is doubtlessly Antiochus, who wrought such desolation. So this is all happening before the thing with the Greeks, and when the Greeks come in and desolate the temple, right, or desecrate the temple. They don't destroy it, but they come in and take over and do all that kind of stuff. Antiochus, mine says, who wrought such desolations, made a covenant with the Hellenizing Jews and desecrated the temple. 7 weeks, i.e. 49 years, 62 weeks, i.e. 434 years, 1 week, 7 years, half a week, 3.5 years. So those are the visions, right? That's what. So in according to mine, this is saying this is about this stuff with the Greeks. Now, I want to look over here and I want to see what this one says. What does yours say? Because I think we're going to end at the end of 9. Let's.
This is the end times thing.
Okay. Okay.
It says this totals 483 years instead of the 490 years mentioned in verse 24, leaving 7 years unaccounted for at the time of Messiah's death.
Okay.
For their future fulfillment, see verse 27 in Revelations.
Okay. Okay.
So this is talking about the end times.
This is talking about the end times. Okay. I was going to look and see what, this is my Erdman's commentary to see what it says. Okay. It does talk about the sevens. The sevens were decreed by God as the period in which the messianic redemption was to be accomplished. Daniel's people in Jerusalem, the holy city, the revelation of this decreed period, thus is direct reference to Daniel's prayer. The time of exile is almost concluded. What then lies in store for God's people? And the answer is revealed that with respect to these people, a period of 77s has been determined in which their salvation is to be accomplished. The 77s have been determined for the express purpose of bringing about 6 results, 3 of which are negative and 3 positive. Let's see if mine has others. The 3 negatives are put an end to sin, to atone for iniquity, to finish the transgressions. Those are the 3 negatives. 3 positives are bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal both vision and prophet, and anoint a most holy place. Okay. I was going to see if it gave me more about the end time type stuff. 25 states the beginning of the period and the length of time until the appearance of the Messiah. Daniel is commanded to know and understand the message from the going forth of the word. The text is referring to the going forth of a word from God, not to the issuing of an edict on the part of a Persian monarch. first year. At the same time, the effects of the going forth of this word appeared in human history. It was during the first year of Cyrus when he permitted the Jews to return to the land. Therefore, a terminus a quo, therefore, of the 77s was the year 538, 537 BC. The word proceeded from God. The word which proceeded from God had reference to restoring the city of Jerusalem to its former condition, to the coming of an anointed one, a prince, i.e., one who is both anointed and also a prince, or in other words, to one who is a priest and a prince. And that's one of the things that Jesus is referred to, is the fact that he is both a king and a priest, and even a prophet. And so he kind of fulfills these things. Or in other words, one who is a priest and prince. There's only one to whom these words may apply, even Jesus, who is the Christ. From the terminus a quo of the prophecy until the appearance of an anointed one is said to be seven sevens and 62 sevens. It's possible that the 7 sevens stand for the period between the first return from exile under Zerubbabel and the completion of the work of Ezra and Nehemiah. And the 62 sevens is the period between that time and the first advent of Jesus. The 7 should be regarded as symbolic numbers. Okay, so it's talking about the coming, and in this case, it's not talking necessarily, at least at this point, or it can be done and remember, I've said that these things these prophecies can be read with different meanings, different levels of meanings. So that one level is the way my Bible reads it, which it's all about what happens before this Antiochus and all of this kind of stuff. This one then is referring to the fact that it is about that period between the return from the exiles from Babylon and the coming of Christ, the first coming. Okay. Well, then there's another layer in which it can be interpreted to refer to what will happen at the end time. So it can function on 3 different levels. And it's not that the first level is wrong, because the first level historically has already happened. The second level isn't wrong. The second level has already historically happened. The third level, we don't know because it hasn't happened yet. But that's so it can function. It can function at different levels, and none of it's wrong. It's just that it's almost like it repeats itself. It's used to prophesy about all the different things. I was going to see if mine talked about the end time. Okay. 26 deals with that which is to take place after the expiration of the 62 sevens. 2 events are mentioned, but it's not stated whether they are to occur during the 70th seven or not, nor how long after the expiration of the 62 sevens they will be. In the first place, it is said that an anointed one, or a Messiah, that would be the translation, where it says an anointed one would be the Messiah, will be cut off. This anointed one is identified with the anointed one of verse 25. The reference is to the death of Christ, who is cut off by crucifixion. And shall have nothing. By this expression, the utter rejection of the Christ, both by man and God, is set forth. Okay, so that's one way it talks about it. Then it says, secondly, this verse mentions the fate of the city and the sanctuary, i.e. Jerusalem and the temple, which are to be destroyed by the people of the prince who is to come. This seems to be a clear prophecy of the destruction of Jerusalem under Titus Vespasian. To the end, i.e. of the destruction, war, desolation will continue. So that's continuing on with this idea that it's prophesying about what will happen at the time of Jesus's life and death, right? Then it says, verse 27, he shall make a strong covenant. Better translated, he shall cause the covenant to prevail. The Hebrew words are unusual. They're sometimes interpreted as though they meant simply to make a covenant. Such an interpretation is incorrect, however, for it does not do justice to the original, which can only mean to cause a covenant to prevail or make a covenant firm. The implication is that the covenant is already in existence and that its terms and conditions are now to be made effective. Who is the one that can cause the covenant to prevail? Many find the subject in the prince who is to come, who would be Christ. No, I'm sorry, of verse 26, and refer this either to Antiochus or to the Roman ruler of the future, revived Roman Empire. So that's where you get to the end of times. So it could be that this one, the prince who is to come, could be Antiochus. It could be a Roman ruler of the future, revived Roman Empire. That would be how you would get it into end times. All right. The word prince here is a subordinate position. It's very unlikely that this word should be subject. That's the subject of verse 27. It's better to regard the subject as the Messiah. He has been the most prominent person in this passage. The covenant which is to prevail is the covenant of grace, wherein the Messiah, by his life and death, obtained salvation for his people. The 70th seven, a symbolic number, thus has reference to the time of our Lord's earthly life. For half of this seven, the Messiah, by means of his death, causes the Jewish sacrifice to cease. Okay, so this is talking about, and then it goes on. Really doesn't get into how it fits into end times that much, and so I may do a little bit of checking and see if there's something where that fits in. Okay, I showed that we're at time, so we're gonna stop there. But so that this we're talking about, like I said, prophecy that functions at many different levels. Okay, so I am going to shut this down. I don't think there was anyone watching. No.
You said 43, was it 43 people